Welcome back. My name is Sarah and I love to talk about movies. And today we're going to delve a little bit into the DC universe. Now, if you were to ask me with what I've seen so far, I would say that Catwoman is one of my favorite characters from the universe. She has so many different iterations, like between the cartoons and the feature films. Today we're taking a look slightly outside of the Batman focused storylines and into a little known film called Suicide Squad. Now, this is not the Suicide Squad from the 2021 film. So I am already familiar with a couple of the characters from this universe, like the Harley Quinn character, the Joker character, Batman character, of course, but some of the characters were new to me. Deadshot, Killer Croc, Diablo, The Flash, Enchantress, Boomerang, Slipknot, Katana. Huge ensemble cast, huge budget. What could go wrong? Plenty of canon and origin stories to choose from to create a really unique feature film where all of the main characters are villains. I'm gonna preface this review by saying the trailer is a whole lie. The movie begins with what looks like a compound of some kind. Inside the compound, you can see it's set up, it looks like a prison. There's walls of cells, there's people behind those doors, there's tons of security, uniforms, surveillance, and levels of security depending on who the inmate is. So the first interactions that we see are between Griggs, this security guard, and Floyd, aka Deadshot. He's telling them, oh, it's dinner time, and he gets a plate with what I guess is food on it, and Floyd is complaining about the food and ends up threatening the guard, and the guard ends up yanking him out of his cell and whooping his ass. The first time I saw this, because I had seen the trailer beforehand, I was like, what is happening right now? Where are we? We're in what looks like a prison, but we don't know that it's a prison. And y'all just yanking people out of their cells and just beating them because they threaten you. In the next scene, we go to visit the infamous Harley Quinn. You already recognize her from the trailer. You know exactly who she is, and she's just literally hanging in her cell. You see her interaction with the same guard, and in her case, she's in kind of a cage that has all this empty space around it, and the outer bars around her cell are electrified. She's having a conversation with him, and he gives a signal to a security guard in a whole other room, and they electrify the bars while she's holding on to them and shock her. She falls back, and when she does, it triggers a memory of what looks like when she first arrives there, because she's not wearing her uniform and she's just sort of giggling to herself. And then it flashes to another memory, it looks like soon afterwards, where she's being force-fed and he's like taking selfies. Those two scenes sets the scene for this sort of dark, really gritty kind of film. Something that seems like it's supposed to set this feature film apart from other films in the DC universe. The next scene is of a woman who steps out of a van. She's got security all around her, and she's heading into a restaurant where there's more security before she even gets to the double doors. And it's her sort of narrating an event after Superman is killed, what happened in the last ensemble feature film with Superman where he dies. I saw this movie before I saw that movie, so it didn't really go into detail too much. All it said basically throughout the movie was that Superman was not there. This lady seems very business casual. She's got pearls on, very business-like. She walks in, and you see that she's having dinner with very high-ranking officials in like military uniforms. They're having a conversation about putting together a team of what they call metahumans in order to address possible future attacks by other metahumans. And so she goes into detail over dinner about some of the people that they've managed to arrest and are holding on the site that we saw earlier. Now, as she introduces each character, you also are aware of other characters. For example, when she speaks about Harley Quinn, you get to see how she first met the Joker and get like a snapshot of their relationship. When she introduces Deadshot, you get to see like a snapshot of his life at that point. And so on for each of the other main characters. Enchantress, Diablo, Killer Croc. In order to get approval for her to put together this task force, she has to get approval from everyone. So the next scene is her pitching this idea to like a room full of what look like politicians and higher ranking members of the military. And to do this, she enlists the help of a woman, Dr. June Moon, to basically perform a task that proves how valuable these members of the team could be. It works, the team is approved, then Waller goes to the site where she visits each potential member of the team. Meanwhile, the Joker is still looking for Harley Quinn, and his bodyguard, second in command, manages to locate her at the site. And it's there that he explains what the purpose of that compound is. The next scene is some kind of gambling establishment where people are spending money like nobody's business. It's half-naked women everywhere, and the guard who had the interaction with Deadshot and Harley earlier is there, and he gets grabbed up and taken to the kitchen for a conversation. And that's when the Joker shows up, basically forces him to help him get into contact with Harley and find out what he would need to do in order to help her escape. So in the next scene, we see Rick Flag and June, who are all booed up at this point, and his job is to keep an eye on her and to keep her grounded so she doesn't get all lost in the Enchantress's magic hoo-ha-ha. One night she transforms into Enchantress and goes on a walkabout. She unleashes her brother, who ends up inhabiting the body of some random guy, transforming and absorbing a bunch of people and basically wreaking havoc and causing mayhem. Amanda Waller is put in charge. First, Amanda sends in June and Flag to blow up the thing that has started to attack the city. Enchantress pulls an okie doke and just books it out of there. Now, Amanda has this thing that is supposedly Enchantress's heart, and that's her point of vulnerability. So she goes to stab it and is like poking holes in it. Enchantress, her brother, lets her borrow some of his power, and that has given her the strength to cast this enormous spell all over the entire city. The team is called into action. Everybody is taken out of the compound. They are tagged before they leave, and then they all meet for the first time together, sort of like assemble, grab their gear, whatever it is to each person, and then travel back into what they call Midway City. The purpose of their mission is search and rescue. As they travel through the city, they come across a bunch of different obstacles, including these like monster things that have taken over the bodies of all these people and just attack them at random points as they travel through the city. They manage to make it to this main building where the person that they're there to rescue is. They go inside. As they're making their way through the building, Harley has a flashback to a critical moment between her and the Joker where she makes a sort of sacrifice for him. And there's a moment where he's sort of torn between deciding to abandon her or to rescue her. And he decides to rescue her. And that's sort of part of the beginning of their love story together. So they make it to their objective and they find out that the person that they're there to rescue is Amanda Waller. Needless to say, everybody's mad. It sort of reframes this idea of who is a villain, who's the bad guy, and who the good guys are, and, sacrifices in the name of the greater good, because soon after they show up, Waller murders her entire team. Apparently, they did not have clearance to see the things that they were seeing. So she kills them. The Joker shows up to rescue Harley. They nearly make it out until Amanda calls a strike and their helicopter is blown up, which knocks Harley out of it, and the Joker goes down with the helicopter. So Amanda takes a second helicopter that gets knocked out of the sky by the Enchantress's brother, and the things that have been chasing them around the city grabs her and drag her over to where the Enchantress has been, I guess, casting spells. So her little minions manage to retrieve the heart after Amanda's helicopter crashes, and she's reunited with her heart. So Flag and the rest of his team are like, okay, we gotta go get her. So they go down and they start to travel across the city when Deadshot finds this top secret information about the Suicide Squad. And he's like, look, I'm out. This is not my job anyway, I'm out. Him and the other villains, not including Katana, have a kind of moment where they're like, it doesn't matter what we do, we're gonna be blamed for the whole thing. You know, what is the point of us doing this? You know, the Enchantress has, for all they know, unlimited powers and abilities. Flag comes in and admits the truth. He shows Deadshot some of the letters from his daughter. He's been carrying them around this entire time. And he's like, your daughter writes to you every day. And Deadshot has a change of heart after seeing the letters and decides to help Flag somehow defeat Enchantress and her brother. Flag comes up with a plan to retrieve a bomb that he left in the subway after the plan with Enchantress didn't work, position the bomb underneath the brother while they're in the subway, and blow him up from underneath. So they manage to get up there, and there's this mental battle between Enchantress and the team until it becomes like a physical fight. During the confrontation, you know, everybody's using their weapons or their powers or whatever to try to defeat this guy. One of the SEALs manages to position the bomb underneath him, blows up him and Diablo. They gone. So after Enchantress's brother is killed, she transforms back to her original look. There's another brawl confrontation where everybody is like running at her and doing their best trying to defeat her. And when all of that doesn't work, she offers them what she calls mercy and is giving them the opportunity to agree to basically serve her. And Harley Quinn is like, okay, I'll do it. But she says, I lost my pudding, but you can bring it back. So she slowly starts walking towards her and then slices open her chest, reaches in, grabs the heart. Flag hands Croc this bunch of dynamite, it looks like, throws it at the base of this rotating bit of magic and metal. Deadshot goes to shoot the bomb, and Enchantress projects a vision of his daughter standing in front of him. And he manages to resist that temptation, fire his weapon, the bomb explodes, it completely destroys like the base of whatever the spell was and cause it to completely stop working. All this trash falls out of the sky in a ring in the middle of this city, but Enchantress is still present. Flag manages to get her heart and is like, I'll destroy this if you don't bring me back June. And she's like, you'll never do it. You know, you don't have the guts to do it. And he does and crushes it. And then she just sort of collapses. Like, I want to say a full minute goes by before her body twitches. And then, you know, June kind of wakes up and peels this mud layer off of herself. And they, you know, hug and kiss and all that. Then Amanda comes strolling out. And Deadshot says, how are you not dead? She's like, you can get time off your sentence from accomplishing this. But they push back and they're like, we want a few things first. Harley Quinn asks for an espresso machine. Deadshot asks to see his daughter, you know. Those things are granted. And the next thing you know, you're seeing Deadshot spending time with his daughter. And then, you know, he's gotta go, they hug, and then they're back on the compound, but the quality of their surroundings is a bit better. Killer Croc got a TV. He's got what looks like a McDonald's hamburger and liquor. I don't know if y'all saw that, but along that wall, it's liquor bottles up there. Deadshot's not naked no more, and he has like a proper punching bag. And Harley Quinn's little cage thing is neat as a pin, and she's sipping espresso with her pinky up. It's hilarious. Next thing you know, there's an explosion, gunfire, somebody busts in, cuts the lock on Harley Quinn's door, steps inside, pulls off this helmet, and it's the Joker. He's still alive. And it's assumed that they escape after that. And that's how the movie ends. Credits roll for a few minutes, and then there is another ending scene where Amanda Waller is sitting across from Bruce Wayne. He's offering his protection to her because that was a really big mess that happened in the city, and she's saying that basically there are people asking questions that can get the answers to those questions. So Bruce Wayne is offering to protect her in order to get access to some information that she has on other metahumans like Aquaman and the Flash. He says, like, you should shut it down, meaning her whole, like, task force. Before he leaves, she says, you look tired, Mr. Wayne. You should stop working nights. Kind of implying that she knows he's Batman, which, of course, Amanda Waller knows he's Batman. It's Amanda Waller, please. And that is the end of the movie. Was I entertained? Yes, I was. Do I think the soundtrack is amazing? Yes, I do. And I, in fact, bought the soundtrack, and it is in my library. I think the weird punk rock and roll music really tied in well with the scenes. However, the plot and storyline, a lot of plot holes, a lot of random things that just didn't matter to the story and kind of slowed things down. The movie version that I'm talking about in this review is just the regular version. There is an extended version, and I did watch it, and it does add a little bits here and there for context, but the way that the story is organized, even with that information, just didn't really help. One of my biggest issues is that this is a PG-13 film. The regular feature film version is PG-13. Of course, the extended version, I think, is unrated, but it shouldn't be. It should not be PG-13. This is supposed to be the DC universe, which is already has a reputation for being like more gritty and darker than Marvel. And in this story, it's supposed to be all about villains, all about antagonists, all about criminals, basically, except for Killer Croc. He had a hard life. There's no way to share the story of people who are hitmen who murder people for a living. Basically gangsters, which it kind of seems like the Joker is in this version. And Harley Quinn, who is also his second in command and a murderer as well. El Diablo, who is a mass murderer, and we're all assuming was in some kind of gang doing things that are not explained at all. He just mentions using his powers to do a little business. I think we all know what he means by do a little business. And then you have a character like June Moon, who was an archaeologist, fell into a temple or a cave that used to be a temple, ends up getting possessed by the spirit of this like super powerful being. But June herself, we don't know nothing about her. We know that she's not a hero and doesn't want to be. We know that she's linked up with Amanda Waller because she seems to have some kind of plan. I think based on June's behavior that she was somehow hoping that Amanda would somehow come up with a cure for her or a way to separate the two of them. And that's why she was there. June's character was so undeveloped. I mean, when she was in that meeting with Amanda and you had all of these like members of the military, and leaders in this room, she was wearing glasses, had her hair up in a bun, and was wearing a suit. Why? The other scene we saw her in, she was just in a bathtub, so we couldn't see anything from the neck down. But before that, she was like traversing the jungle as an archaeologist. What? It didn't match up. It just didn't feel consistent to her character. There was a lot of that going around. I actually like the Killer Croc character because he doesn't have a lot of lines, but they're very telling about his character. When Amanda Waller talks about why he is in jail, it's no reason why he should be in jail, really. He's in jail jail because he's Killer Croc. He's in jail because he hurt some people and he killed some people, but it wasn't his main intent. His intent was to find a safe place for himself. The plot holes were just way too large. It seemed to have two competing ideas. One was to make it almost like a video game, where you have, these are the bad guys, here are your avatars, everybody that you can choose from. You have an objective where you're trying to get through the city and rescue this person from these other two bad guys. And in order to do that, you have to like fight all these enemies and stuff. And on the other hand, you have these micro scenes and like almost creating a moment where the audience can connect to a character or can relate to a character or might find something interesting about a character, but it's never quite developed enough to where it goes all the way to the other side. Like in the movie The Suicide Squad, they make those emotional connections with every single character. Here, it was like the idea that was maybe trying to do too much to try to make these connections with characters. It was like, no, just keep it cute and entertaining. I would give Suicide Squad, I would give it a 3 out of 5. The soundtrack was amazing. I love that they went big with the cast and the types of characters. A lot of them I had never heard of before, and I don't even know if they're like real characters from the DC universe, but it was an interesting random collection, and I could see where they wanted to go with it. Like during the fight scenes where they had those slow-mo, like ridiculous comedic moments, I could see what they were trying to do, but it didn't quite make it there. There were too many other competing details that were confusing. For example, the skip between when Enchantress's brother starts attacking people in the subway, and then somehow June and Flag and a small team ending up there with a plan to blow him up, we suppose. So much happened. Like the city was evacuated, or they tried to, they had to come up with the plan, but either way, I guess to keep the twist that the team was there to rescue Amanda a secret, they couldn't walk you through those parts. But there was just way too many moments like that for there not to be like just confusion. You know what I mean? Also, I'll give them points for creativity regarding costumes and weapons. Harley Quinn has a bunch of looks that are so good and so detailed in this film. Amanda Waller's outfits, so good. Her wearing these freaking pearls is such a contrast to her character. It was wonderful. Deadshot's whole weird costume. Boomerang was a little random, but it also made sense that someone like that would be there because it's like, he doesn't have any meta powers. He has boomerangs. Sure. You know, there's room for that guy in this kind of storyline. The random climbing guy coming in at the last minute, didn't like that because you knew he was gonna die. He didn't even matter enough to have scenes earlier in the film. We only heard his name like one time. We knew that he was on his way out anyway. Also the same with Diablo. They foreshadowed it way too heavily, killing his entire family. That man don't have nothing to live for. Plus, he's from a whole different city, Los Angeles. So he's not even a part of like Gotham City lore. The Joker character was so strange and not in a way that I wanted to see. But it was creative and different and unexpected. Harley Quinn's character being tatted up, having these like crazy outfits. In the scene where they're at the club, she's wearing gold watches on her arm like an armband. That's weird. That scene where the Joker drives off the pier and she can't swim and she's not wearing a seatbelt and she goes through the windshield and it looks like she's unconscious until the Batman gets close enough to her and she like does this. Fierce. Like her character is fierce and weird and just maintains this consistent level of crazy throughout the entire film, which I appreciate. Katana's character was random, even though we have a flashback of her. Instead of seeing her kill that guy who killed her husband, or maybe didn't kill her husband but was partially responsible, I think I would have liked to see what happened afterwards. Learning later on that she talks to the sword and her husband's soul is in the sword. Does he talk back to her? Stuff like that. Stuff like that. We have that detail and it's like never fully developed, but you have a million questions, and it was just a little annoying. But highly entertaining, and there are some zinger dialogue in this film that is definitely worth watching. When Amanda shoots her team and Deshaw says, "That's gangster," it's funny. It's a little sad because all them people got shot just because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. But you guys let me know what you think. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all next time.